Hello and welcome to this week's Q&A. I have 3 questions from you and 1 question for you. So without further ado, I shall read the first question, which is a nice, short, simple one. Well, perhaps not simple, but short. It's about parts of the self, the mini session, and the question is, may I have an example of what you mean by this? So if you haven't watched that mini session yet, or you've forgotten what it was all about, I do recommend that you watch it. Parts of self is a very important concept and teaching to absorb and practice. What it's referring to is there's cognitive dialogue going on. So your thoughts, remember, thoughts are also speech, your inner world speech. And there are parts of you that are having commentary on what is actually happening in the here and now, or in the past or in the future. So an example of this is with anxiety. So remember, anxiety is future-based thinking. And there's a part of me that is worrying about this particular event happening and that I won't cope, or whatever it is. There's a part of me that looks towards that event and thinks, I'm not going to be able to cope, or what's going to happen, I need to know more. There's another part of me that challenges that part or justifies it. So there's a bit of a dialogue going on in my thoughts. Oh, well, you'll have to wait till you get there. Now, the self, capital S, the whole idea with parts of the self, which, by the way, was founded by Dr. Richard Schwartz, and he has a new layperson's book out called No Bad Parts. I highly recommend it if you'd like to learn more about parts of the self. His approach is called Internal Family Systems Therapy, IFS. So self with a capital S, and that self is my adult self, or what I like to refer to as the wise self. This self is the here and now mature and evolving part of me that's connected to my values and visions, and is going to make the wisest decision about what to do in the here and now, and actively relate to and validate and support the parts of me that are feeling unsure or worrying or upset or whatever it is. So future thinking, there's a part of me that's worried, and then the wise self will reassure that part, say it's all right, it's understandable that you're worrying about that, and create some, planning for that part. It's okay, well, we'll do this, and if that happens, this will happen. So there's some planning there that has flexibility. And remember the mantra about anxiety, I trust I'll know what to do, and I trust I'll be able to cope. And coping is functioning and being in the experience without overwhelm. And also you might validate, there'll be other people I can tap into for support. A past inner dialogue could look like, you ruminating about a past event, and there's a part of you that is being critical and judgmental and still holding a grudge against the person or the event or whatever happened in the past. Remember, the past is a minute ago, could be just a moment, whenever. Anything from here back is the past. And that part is really kind of fired up or hurt or whatever, and then you bring in the wise self to validate and, create balanced view about what happened, and validate and settle and soothe that part. It's understandable, it's okay. It's not helpful for you to retaliate. It's not helpful for you to continue to go over it. Notice my mind obsessing, notice my mind going over and over it. So there's the future focused and a past focused example of parts of the self. I hope that's helpful. And I'll remember, that book, No Bad Parts, Dr. Richard Schwartz. And just to clarify that our parts are formed from our history in order to protect us or encourage us. That they've got a function and a value, but often what they were useful for back then is no longer useful in the present day. So just something to reflect on in regards to your parts and the narratives they have about you and your relationship to the outside world. Question 2 is about historical events. Glasses on. How can I relate to / support my partner who is fixated on a historical event? Being in the past, it cannot be changed. I'm struggling with feelings of acting in a manner that is either belittling the event, i.e. by acknowledging it but stating it's in the past, or enabling a fixation on the event by entertaining hours of conversation on the topic. How can I relate to and support my partner with that? Really great question, this one, and one that I'm sure we can all relate to when our realities, remember the two realities are different. So the first thing is to acknowledge the two realities of the event for yourself, even just privately as a starting point. You know, I can look back on that event, and at this point in time, I feel I've reconciled and I've moved on. But I can see that my partner is still hooked on something, and I wonder. Curiosity comes in. I wonder what I could do or say to help him feel more understood and accepted and validated. So prolonged dialogues about events generally happen when one or both people haven't been able to hold the two realities. Remember, balanced view. And hold the two realities, nor accept or accept and validate the other's feelings or narratives. Correcting their narrative will prolong the dialogue because they will continue to drive home their experience to you. If you keep correcting, there's my sticky uppy hair that is distracting. If you keep correcting, they're going to keep coming back to you and correcting you. No, don't tell me what to think. So I think one of the first things that could be really helpful here is hold your tongue and just listen. You really need to listen and make sure they feel heard, understood, and validate them for the event that they experienced. And yes, it's hard, and you can correct the detail about you at the end once you've done that for those 3 steps. Deep listening and paraphrasing. Okay, so now I'm getting a really good understanding. I haven't really understood you properly until now. So when you reflect back on that, you're really hurt because, is that right? Yes, that's right. Okay, no, I haven't understood that until now. So please feel assured that I've got a new understanding of how and why you're hurt. So you're giving them that, and that will really settle their mind down. And I can understand why you've been so upset and why it's been so difficult for you to let go of this, because until now I haven't really understood that. So you can hear in how I'm supporting the person, I'm not agreeing to what they are saying about me. I'm not agreeing to the fact that I did this and it was unfair or whatever. I'm just saying I understand, and I'm not challenging them. What I could do is then say that I hope you feel more supported, and really clarify that, and then get say, yeah, I do. And so then you can say, there's one part of that I just wanted to clarify, and then you could say, what I was experiencing, the reason why I had that reaction in the moment was because I was feeling X, Y, and Z. So I hope you can appreciate that. So again, you're not saying you made me have that reaction. You're just explaining your reaction. No judgment, everyone. Non-judgment on what they're saying and feeling, and non-judgment about what you're saying and feeling. This is an exercise of listening, understanding, accepting, and validating. So that is my recommendation for that one. Question 3 is about self-esteem. There is a mini session about self-esteem if you haven't watched it yet, or if you think you could have benefit from another listen. Okay, so being someone who can be prone to having high self-esteem, how can I best support my friends, family, partner who have low self-esteem? Another really great question. Remember that self-esteem is the worth I get from what I have, do, and am. And low self-esteem generally comes from putting my self-esteem in the hands of the outside world. So I'm seeking validation of my worth, of my value, for what I have, my possessions, everything that I actually have in possession, for what I do, my accomplishments, my success, my status, my connections, all of that, and for who I am. So that's a part of identity, my personality. Am I likable? And when I'm going into the outside world to look for, to gather data to support me and anchor me in my self-esteem, I'm never going to have healthy self-esteem, which is my preference to high self-esteem. There's nothing wrong with saying high self-esteem. What we want to listen for in high self-esteem is there an air of superiority in that? And similarly, low self-esteem is really steeped in inferiority. I'm not good enough. I'm not doing enough. For the people who I'm seeking validation from, I'm getting disapproval, therefore I'm not good enough. So all of our self-esteem comes from us. Here's the retreat again, being really clear about about our values and our visions, where we're heading and how we're going, and what behaviours we're going to use to get there. It's an intrinsic motivator. It's an intrinsic experience. It's a rich inner world that says, that was a great day. I did this, this, and this, and I had a lovely time at work, whatever it is. And I feel good about how I interacted with the world today and how I supported myself, and et cetera, et cetera. Self-esteem is derived from within. So just clarifying that, I have some questions that I suggest to you that you pose in a very gentle way to the people that you're wanting to support. How clear are they about their values and visions? Do they have good self-awareness and self-care practices? And for you to practice compassion for their low self-esteem or self-concept, which I suggest is inferior, and ask them if their view of themselves, do they view themselves as having low self-esteem? I think it's important that you clarify with this person or whoever it is. Do you think you have, I was thinking about self-esteem. Do you think that you have good self-esteem, or what do you know? What do you think about that? Have a conversation. If they say yes, they have they think they have low self-esteem. Okay, all right, that I can understand that. Do you understand why? Like, what is that? And see if you can help them uncover that they lack awareness about that. They may not actually understand what self-esteem is and how it manifests. If they say they have low self-esteem and they don't understand anything about it, then I would suggest to them, would you be open to having a few sessions with the counsellor? I think it'd be really helpful for you to learn about this. I know it's been really helpful for me, doing the retreat or having sessions, whatever it is. And I've really noticed such a difference in how I feel about myself in the world, in daily life, since I have understood what self-esteem is, and more importantly, how to cultivate healthy self-esteem for myself within myself. And if they do understand, if they say, yeah, well, I know where it comes from, and they're sort of defensive in that way, then the next question could be something like, do you understand, do you know the behaviours that increase self-esteem? If you're saying you have low self-esteem and you've got good understanding about that, what sort of things are you doing to increase your self-esteem that are motivated and driven from within you, not relying on the outside world to do certain things? And then the last thing was suggest that they watch the mini session. I'm happy for you to, obviously you can't send it to them, but you could sit them in front of your thing or watch it on your phone and get them to listen to it, just to open their mind up. And you could, of course, and I would love you to do this, suggest that they do the retreat, which is definitely going to shape how they view themselves, self-awareness and self-care. So that is that question. I hope that's helpful. My question for you this week is about family origins and culture. So reflect on your family of origin, culture and values. This is how the environment that you grew up in terms of behavior and energy and attitude and beliefs and lifestyle, and how the use of time and relationship and communication. Family of origin, culture and values. Generally cultivated by your parents, and very important this part, and cultivated for them by their parents, etc., etc., and so it goes back and back and back. generational culture and values that come through until, and this is the heart of the question, thinking about the reality that you, as a part of developing your self-awareness and acknowledging that you're aware of how your family of origin, culture and values have shaped you to date, thinking about that, is there one characteristic, belief, behavior from that culture that you are clear that you do not wish to carry forward? And is there one family of origin, culture or value or belief or attitude or behavior or whatever that you do that you see as highly valuable and that you definitely are going to, with awareness and choice, deliberately carry forward and continue practicing? So one, and it could be more, but my question is just one. Can you think of one that you don't want to carry forward, and can you think of one that you do? And what does that look like? When you do a forecast, what does that look like in your behavior? If you're not carrying it forward, what will you be doing? How will you be aware? And what will you be doing? And perhaps what's the antidote behavior or value or culture to that? So, interesting. I would love to hear back from you about this question. Really interesting one. And of course, I would love to hear back from any questions that you have about the retreat, about this Q&A, about life in general. I would love to hear from you. So please keep your emails coming. I wish you a wonderful weekend ahead, and I will see you in the next mini session.